everyone to the LEC 2023 Summer Playoffs live from Berlin, Germany. Today we kick off the first best of fives with a battle for the first spot in summer finals next week as G2 Esports and Excel will fight on the Rift today. I'm Laure and I'm joined by Roxa and GB, the Danes. How are you guys doing? How hyped are we for these playoffs?
We're super hyped for playoffs. It's been gearing up to be very exciting in terms of placements of these teams, and much more we'll dive into, but I can't wait to finally get started with today.
Especially, hopefully, seeing some very high-level League of Legends, because while the previous days were exciting, and there was some crazy stuff going on, and not in a good way, whereas today, hopefully, we're gonna see some spice, some action, some smart macro.
I mean, that's the hope here, at least, but we had some surprises so far in the group stage. Teams improving as well, and I feel like I hope we're gonna have a bigger matchup today because G2 Esports have looked really, really dominant. Excel is on the rise as well, so hopefully we can have some surprises here. But before we talk about this one, let's rewind a bit and recap what happened in the group stage, as with Heretics and Fnatic winning yesterday, that is the end of the road for Vitality, who will join Astralis as the two first eliminated team in the summer.
Oh yeah, it's a bit of a disaster for Vitality. Obviously, just finishing 10th, not the best for them, but also then in terms of the teams that they did not want to got good, and then all of a sudden they're just kicked out with these rises of a 10th, 9th, and 8th place teams from earlier seasons. So yeah, pretty crazy for Vitality not seeing them.
And really sad when I mean, we won't see them until 2024, and we'll see what happens with the roster, Broxa, because this roster was built for success, for finals, for first place, for Worlds, and won't be doing either, actually. And we'll see what happens with these players.
Well, we're seeing it time and time again. Pretty much every year, there's one team that's expected to come in and be a super team that just fails, because at the end of the day, having players that are really strong on paper only matters to a certain extent. And, we've seen a lot of surprises. The likes of Astralis, SK, BDS are all really dominating. And that meant there's no spot left for Vitality all of a sudden.
The curse of the super teams, but also the rise of teams that we did not expect, given the way they started the year. And if we look at the LEC Playoffs bracket here, as we said, we're going to kick off with G2 versus Excel as the first best of 5 we have. But next Friday, because next week will start on Friday and not on Saturday, as you guys have been used to for the remainder of the season, we will have Heretics and Fnatic, two teams who were on the verge of elimination, who thought they were back into the playoffs, GB.
Yeah, I think it's crazy that one of them will have to say goodbye here with how good of a regular season they've actually had. And that matchup is certainly one I'm looking forward to. No chances. Winner gets to go forward and hopefully even further into season finals. But someone's streams is going to be made on Friday, and someone's stream is going to be broken on Friday.
And that's the difficulty of the format we have, Broxa, and how ruthless it can be, because yes, you can make the best efforts you can right down the finish line, but as GB said, someone is going to be heartbroken next week for sure, even though they made the best effort to save summer.
Well, it's also worth noting that for both of these teams, it's actually crazy to think about them even being here at this point, because both Fnatic in particular, Excel, even Heretics, they didn't have the greatest starts so far this year in spring and in winter, but all of a sudden, all of them look so good. They found some, roster changes and things within the team that has made them really reach the next level. And I'm curious to see if one of these miracle runs could potentially go all the way.
And they have 1 week to get ready for best of 5, and Jankos was telling us yesterday that he's actually really, really hyped about playing a best of 5 like this. But before that, we have to focus on G2. Unlike other teams, I feel like GB, it's the only team who stayed consistent, but also kept on improving and getting stronger.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of teams were busy playing catch-up to G2, but even while they had that time to play catch-up, G2 had the time to improve on themselves, and they did so, not just through picks, but also just through their gameplay and their macro. They have been the most dominant team in Europe.
But also through picks, and this is something you want to talk us through here with a specific one from the bot lane, from our dear Hans Sama. We're going to talk about which ADC? Talk us through this.
I mean, I want to take a look at a specific one we've been seeing from Hans Sama recently, which has been the Kalista. Now, I saw some comments online with the Kalista, why G2 has suddenly started to pick it. Someone was talking about the changes that came in on 13-11. And saying it was because she suddenly had better scaling with some of her AD ratio changes. But I wanted to go through some of that and kind of highlight the patches more, what it actually did to Kalista, and hopefully shed some light on why G2 is picking it. So let's start with some changes that actually happened. The attack damage went down from 66 to 61, and the attack growth was also nerfed. But in turn, Her passive used to do 90% of total AD damage. It now does 100% instead. So the auto attack started doing more damage with your AD scalings. Now on your rend instead, it went from 34 base to 24 instead. But the AD ratio was also up, so it's now 45% on an AD ratio, to which used to be 40.6%. So that's what you need in terms of notes. Let's have a look at then in-game scenario we had. We had a scenario where Hans Sommer was level 13. He had these items that you can currently see on your screen. And you can see the AD now pre-patch 13.11 and post-patch 13.11. With the old AD growth, it was actually higher with 185. Now it's 174 on this patch. The passive damage, on the other hand, went up. This was what your auto attack did back then. Now it actually does what the total AD you have, of course. But let's have a look at the rend stacks then. Because back in the day, it would do 109 with one rend stack when this time in the game with 5 points in your E. Now it would do 102 instead. So let's say you had 10 rend stacks, 1,091. Now, post-patch, it would do 1,025. So in total, as you can actually see when you have it with 10 autos as well, and we go all the way down to the total damage, it barely actually changed in the scenarios that we saw. It's a 20 damage difference. And what's really crucial to know as well is that Kalista doesn't actually itemize too much AD. She builds attack speed for the most part, as you can already see in the build. So let's go into some of the gameplay. How does he make it work then? Because it barely changed at this point in time, and G2 rarely gets to the late game as well. Well, I'll tell you why it works. It's because it's literally Hans Sommer. It's because this is the guy that have played Kalista for ages, that displays the mechanics, going over walls and take the champion to the fullest potential instead. It's also a champion that helps play towards G2's strengths. They want to go in. They want to accelerate on all the early game leads they can get. And with that, they can just throw Mickey in or let Mickey go for more aggressive plays where he's sometimes maybe inting, but can always be pulled out. And we see this multiple times when they play the Kalista. Even if the fight starts badly, they're able to out-team fight themselves. In this scenario, Adam was incredibly fed on the Olaf, but once again, Hans Sommer back and forth over on the wall, make sure that he can play the team fight cleanly, once again utilizing the champion to the fullest potential. So, in total, why has this actually then become so good for G2? Well, it's just because Hans Sommer is good. It has nothing to do with the patch. It's the way G2 plays around it, and that's it. Now, on the other side of the rift today, Excel is aiming to defy expectations once again. So let's talk to the brains behind the team, as Trouble is standing by with Hidon and Cass.
Thank you very much, Schoolwalk. I'm sitting here with Hidon and Cass, the coaching staff for Excel. Welcome, guys, to the couch, and thank you for joining me on the interview. You know what? Cass, I have to come to you first. You're wearing a Mad Lions tie. Why?
I have to continue the legacy. I mean, Mad Lions is out, but Mad Lions is not out of me, so I'm here to continue.
Oh, that's really sweet. Now, Hidon, of course, came into the team, had to restructure the team. First week comes by, 0-3. First thoughts after this first week?
Yeah, I mean, after 0-3, you don't feel good. But this time, when we went 3-0 or 0-3, it didn't feel the same as last week, or not last week, last split. Last split, when we won games, it didn't really feel deserved in any way. But we went 0-3 this split, and it felt like we could have won all the games, and we were playing really, really bad. So I wasn't too worried. But of course, like when you go 0-3, you feel like you question all the decisions you made. And Cass and I made a good plan on what to do moving forward. And yeah, it paid out.
Well, since you were part of the plan, of course, Cass, we had a little interview that week and you were like, I'm really stressed, you know, coming back to EU, getting into Excel. First week doesn't work out. What do we do? What caused the upsurge after that first week?
Wait, what do you mean?
What caused you to have a high trajectory after the first week and you just won everything?
I mean, I don't think it's about what we did after the weekend. I think we just had good planning. Like, success just doesn't come in one day, right? Like, we had like a good structure. We started scrimming when MSI teams were still playing. We were the first team of LEC to start scrimming again. And I feel like it's just like a bit of an overall plan, right? Like, it's not just 0-3, okay, guys, what do we do? Turn around the ship? No. We just keep doing what we're doing. We were really close to like win one game, win two games, right? So we just got a little bit better. and then the results came by themselves, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about results, G2 has been pulling some good results here, and you're facing them in this best of 5 today. How do you guys prep, if there's any difference in the prep that you do from the best of ones moving towards the best of series?
I mean, obviously, when you're playing best of 5, you have a lot more time to prep. And I mean, what we're doing differently is just making sure that the scouting is on point, the drafting is on point, and making sure that between the games we're giving ourselves way more space to what's it called, to just to prepare, basically. Like, we are trying to just do as much as we can to be as prepared as we can. And coming into this game, I feel way better than I ever felt playing against G2, because I'm satisfied with what we have in terms of prep and scouting. And I feel we can definitely match them today.
Well, that's great to hear, because that was exactly my next question. It's like every time the question is, how in the world do you prep versus someone like G2? And of course, I'm not asking for like the details, but is there any difference between prepping for someone like G2, who can pull 1 trillion different picks, versus any other team for a best of series?
I mean, I do think that this G2 is actually a bit different from the last year G2s. Like last year, like they would be able to play a lot of stuff, right? And drafts was actually pretty hard against them. I mean, I just have to think about 2020 or 2021. But this year, I feel like their champion pool is more narrow, but they're better on the champions. They're actually really good on the champions they play, so they try to master the champions better. So I think the prep is a bit easier. I'm not saying it's easy at all, but it's a bit easier, right? Obviously, you only prepare for one opponent. That's like a luxury. Like the other teams yesterday and the day before have to prep for 2 sometimes. Yeah. So that's like a big factor that is like easier to prepare, of course. But yeah, in general, like I think we know what G2 wants to do, and we have some good answers. Obviously, they can adapt, right? They can like look at us and say, okay, what champions do work into them, and they can try to add new tools to their toolbox. But yeah, we got some plans going, and we'll see today.
Well, that's great to hear. You guys have smiles as well. Good luck in your best of 5 versus G2. We love seeing that new face of Excel. Thank you so much for joining me, of course, on the interview, gentlemen. And Laura, over to you.
Thank you so much, Trouble. It's crazy, actually, to think that Excel built a lineup at the beginning of the year, never worked, did roster changes every split, and that this iteration of Excel built in desperate measures actually was the one who found the most success, Yamato.
No, it's very impressive. I feel like this current format really highlights coaching gap more than it has ever had, because you can face elimination on each patch. We've had so many seasons in past years when teams like maybe Fnatic, the old school teams, they kind of get through playoffs, they play well at the ending of it, but what they said there in terms of the preparation pre-season, this is so important, because you need to hit the ground running from the get-go. You don't have any times to actually improve or to practice in 3 days of scrims.
And best of 1 is actually unforgiving in that sense. And we know that Excel players love this patch, but they had to get there. And I want to have your read on what the coaching staff has been doing actually to bridge these players together. Make it a team, actually, not just 5 individuals clicking with each other, especially when you consider that Hidon is a rookie coach. It's his first experience like this, called again in desperate times for Excel.
I think Hidon has always been like this person in the scene that has been very busy. He's a very good example of how you get into the LEC and how you work with teams, because he's always created content, always coached publicly, and made sure he was at the forefront. But in general, just the reads on the patch, and I feel like they've been focusing on details that are transferable between games. You see improvement in the Drake setup, you see improvement in how they connect. And also on the first day, Odoamne, Rumble, and Dorel, very good read on the meta. And when you start well, you get so much breathing room for yourself, because they called Mad Lions with their pants down, and then they continued their momentum and swung against SK2. And it's just good patch read from the get-go, good planning pre-season, and then, of course, improving on the minor details that make such a big difference in terms of how they connect as players.
I mean, a good read on the patch for me is one thing, but also finding the good way to make these people work together. Because when you're going to build a team from the get-go, you want to give them something easy to execute and something that they can do every time, basically. But them bringing something new to the table for the group stage was mostly impressive for me, and I can't wait to see what they have cooked for G2.
No, 100%. I'm hoping today against G2 that You know, we keep putting XL in boxes, and every week they break through that box. And today, maybe they're the ones to do it, but it's looking harsh. But they looked harsh before too.
We'll see. Miracle Run. We've seen this before. Can XL actually climb this mountain that is G2 Esports, or will the behemoth of EMEA League of Legends reign supreme and secure another LEC Finals appearance? It is time for our LG Ultra Gear Match of the Week.
Heartbreak for XL, the whole organization and the team.
And let's be honest, XL have had a very difficult time.
People are just so surprised this roster is in 10th place right now with just one win.
They're so terrified of throwing, they're just not doing anything at all.
They need to fix those issues because there's a lot of them.
At least getting to see glimpses of that individual performance to show that these guys still are top caliber players will mean a huge amount.
XL, from an 0-3 first week, from two of the worst finishes we have ever seen in winter and spring, have now locked groups in summer. What an incredible turnaround.
Nobody expected us to really make it anymore. Everybody wrote us off after the last two splits, and now showing up here.
Now the choice appears to be fight the teams, and goes Ono! Peach, the potential here for the play, kicks into the wall, the feathers fly, but he still finds one, he wants one more! Carzzy, flashback, flash in, the triple, baby!
Peach popping off here.
To buy some time. Look at the burst damage onto Certus. Melee range with the Kai said he gets punished for it. Bring the hammer down from Amadage. With this win, they guarantee a minimum of third. If they win one more PO5, they go to season finals, the road to Montpellier.
I think it took a reset for everyone. Once you get in the slump, you kind of forget who you are and who you want to be, and you're not motivated anymore. It helped everyone to get a fresh start, some new faces, new beginnings. I think slowly you could see hope coming back in their eyes.
I'm very surprised with XL and their performance, honestly. I think they kind of just took a style and now they're just using it to the fullest. But at the same time, it also leaves them vulnerable if they can't adapt. Coming into this year, we've been playing a lot around bot lane. But that doesn't mean we can't play around top mid. I mean, we've already proven that last year. I think we've gotten so much smarter as a team. I think we've gotten so much more efficient. We're really seeing what it means to be able to carry from any lane, and everyone can step up when it matters. And our opponents have to respect all the different play patterns we can do.
Looking for an MVP. Instantly finds the engage. LeBron tries to disengage Cap, but I don't think it's going to matter. Hanzama wants to keep this one going. They need more out of this. The knockup coming through. Hanzama from downtown. Cap doing so much damage. Now it's Crowny versus the world. The Cap just has more range. He just shoots faster. His guns are better. His teammates are still alive. It's a quadra. And now Penta, official Penta, unofficial Hexakill.
He's a bit more the old Caps that you kind of saw. It's going to be way more fun if he's peaking again.
I think Amadage has had a lot of really good performances, so it's definitely nice to see.
This meta is crazy, but that's my game.